I always wanted to have a farm because food is very cultural for me. I'm Filipino. I'm a first-generation American, and I always wanted, that was the way I knew how to express my love.
You need major scaling companies that have a product in market, they've got financing, they're growing and scaling, and our top 50 here was really around identifying those companies in partnership with our corporate partners.
I still became a grower for a family farm. I was the only grower that was a woman. They hired me because I could speak Spanish, but my whole team was mostly 40 to 50-year-old men. And so earlier on, I had a hard time trying to get them to do the work that they needed. So I was a grower who had to designate tasks, and if they had a question, they would actually ask my superior, who was a man, instead of me, and then I would have to redirect. My supervisor could not speak Spanish.
There's a massive shortage of labor. As Mike said earlier, people are not coming into the industry. The average age is getting older, and we're not seeing new people coming in.
And then as in the tech space, I generally have to talk second. I can't talk first. That's just something that I've picked up. It still happens, and I just accept it and move forward. And I am very, as a woman, I'm much more cautious about what I say and how I say it, and ensuring it's more neutral. And
we will do our accelerator launch in April. We run the Thrive Accelerator Program Demo Day.
So we think that most of the companies we invest in are going to grow steadily and happily.
I'm delighted to see Trace Genomics, who won our event last year, in the audience, and it was a great experience for them. So you should see and talk to the folks in terms of how to come through.
The story started more than 5 years ago when Diane and I met in graduate school. Both of us were very passionate about making an impact on the way in which we can arm community members with a way to stay one step ahead of disease, right?
So what we've done is we've built a really simple soil test for growers and farmers to be able to look at the biology of their soil. We all know that the soil biology plays a huge role in yield and crop health, soil health and sustainability.
So when we say soil biology, we mean the billions of living organisms that are present in every teaspoon of soil. Some of them are harmful to the plants, some of them are beneficial, so they're good for the plants. The reason why we delved into Agtech was because we're very close to Salinas, we're very close to the vegetable bowl. We quickly recognized the growers telling us that they need a way in which they can measure soil health, soil disease. It was impossible to miss out on that opportunity.
My grandfather was a farmer, but a very small-scale farmer where he had his own farm that he fed his family with. And so we're definitely entering into a slightly different world than what we've been used to. And so what we do is we listen very carefully to folks who know what they're talking about and mentors who've been able to guide us along some of the tricky challenges.
Yeah, we've been in Agtech now for over 2 years, and at least twice a week, 3 times a week, we're out in the fields in Salinas. And so that feedback loop, where we're technologists at heart. Our team, we have an amazing team to help accomplish that. But we also make sure that we're getting in that feedback from directly from our customer base, the growers, who are in desperate need of this technology, and bringing that back to our team. So we are making the products, making our technology fit the needs of the growers.
In Salinas, agriculture is very traditional, and so even though they do these processes that are very lengthy, it's because they're used to it. And so even though it takes longer, they know it's right because they've been doing it for so long.
In general, farming still uses paper to track things, and the reason for that is because some of their processes, timekeeping especially, is pretty complex. and even more complex in this area because the crop is rotating 2 or 3 times a year. So our company, we do equipment tracking, timekeeping, and field scouting right now. It's a mobile app. We don't have any extra hardware. That's another thing that makes us unique. So all the data collection is just through your smartphone.
I was studying computer science and then I did work in ag and I wanted to stay in the area. Everyone that I graduated with has had to leave the Salinas Valley to find a job and I was lucky enough to find one here. What makes us unique is knowing the ag side and knowing their processes and I guess having some connections with the growers already.
My parents are immigrants and they were field workers when they came to the US. I've always kind of been around it. My dad started his own produce company when I was younger, and so just kind of growing up around it.
Having connection with our customers, with our growers, and with the valley. We don't want to come in and show them this is what you need to do. We're also learning with them, so a lot of it was a learning process.
Would you change anything right now as it is?
Yeah, but like the
would you
same
rather
structure
have
is just like opposite, you know?
Yeah, so the same flow, like
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and
Yeah.
then
Trying to implement that software and telling them we can give them something that works that's better. They've also had other companies come in and say that, but a lot of times it's been companies from Silicon Valley or areas that aren't huge on ag, so they come in from a different perspective. And so what makes us unique is knowing the ag side and knowing their processes, and I guess having some connections with the growers already.
Yeah, once we start messing with it, for sure we'll have more feedback.
yeah,
We'll break it. But you guys will make it better.
yeah, I think so.
And growers speak to growers and say this is working, and we grow from there.
Only after I spent days, shadowing a grower that I realized this is really, really hard work. And I had a very different kind of appreciation of, the food or the produce I buy now. AgShift in agriculture technology, we want to solve some very real problems which are facing the small and medium commercial farms. We just moved out from a smaller office and we are in the process of getting a bigger office, which is the reason why we are doing this shoot at my home. We have built a platform or a system which helps growers make much better decisions on their farm. So if you look at an organic farm of any profile, typically you'll find that they're growing more than 10 or 15 crops at a time. So what the system does is puts a lot of data and technology to work and helps growers understand your true cost of growing 1 pound of carrot is $4 per pound versus the cost of growing something else is this much. It helps them make many different decisions which before something like AgShift was just based on intuition. And we will then take all that data and automate the compliance reporting for them. Especially organic farm, but even local farms, you're usually dealing with 20 or 30 different kinds of reports which you have to do. It's very time consuming. A similar analogy would be TurboTax. I think we are at a right point where we can put a lot of these innovations to work, to make small farms more sustainable and hence help, what we are really trying to accomplish as a society when we say we have to feed 10 billion people by 2040.
I came here from Vietnam as a refugee. Growing up in Vietnam, I've seen the war and witnessing the cost of malnutrition in children and in women. I decided I would look for a solution, a more like a food-based solution for the problem of vitamin A deficiency, which is quite prevalent in Vietnam. Vitamin A deficiency, a disorder which is just easy to solve, but it's still so prevalent. Vitamin A deficiency compromises the immunity system. It's very important in normal growth of children, but also for eye health. In Vietnam and other places where vitamin A deficiency disorders is quite prevalent, you can see a lot of women when they get older and they have night blindness called xerophthalmia, and that's irreversible. So I decided that Northern Vietnam would be the study area. And when I went back there, I realized that meat and fish were quite expensive, and that is the natural source of vitamin A. And I identified it among the fruit and vegetable that people have. Red melon, the fruit to me that stand out, that's the red melon. And when I was little in Saigon, I know that my mother usually, at that time, she would get the fruit and dye the rice with it, make it red rice. And the color of it is so strikingly, red. And that's the color of beta-carotene. So beta-carotene actually is the precursor of vitamin A. I just have the hunch that the fruit was really rich in carotenoids. The source of lycopene in this country is tomatoes. And the source of beta-carotene in the Western diet is carrot. Red melon contains 70 times more lycopene than tomatoes, and 10 times more beta-carotene than carrot. I came up with a way so that the farmers can then use whatever they have to make the oil, and then keep that oil in their household. Most of the growers in Vietnam are actually women. So my goal is to give back to the growers in Vietnam by providing the market for the products from red melon so that they can continue growing it. I intend to use a percentage of the proceeds, the revenues of red melon oil to help the growers of Vietnam. Also, I think investors would not want to take risk in an idea. And to implement this idea, you do need capital. At the beginning, basically, I feel like I work alone a lot. And so my goal is still to be able to find team members and colleagues and a network of people that in this similar field.
A lot of women in technology. So if you look at the ratios, many of them drop out. So first 3 or 4 months, I was just meeting farms. That in itself has been quite challenging, because they're not as prepared for someone of my profile to show up to the farm. The fact that you're a minority or you're this this person who I am, Asian American. There were people who had this question mark on, what am I doing there? Or why do they have to deal with me, right? Me being who I am. So, there are times when it kind of takes a while for me to build that relationship with growers. When it comes to something very important for a venture at a stage like ours, which is fundraising, honestly, it has been more difficult than it has been with my previous ventures.
It's challenging, more so in Vietnam also, believe it or not. Still very an old culture where women are not supposed to run a company.
With my previous ventures, I was owning the technology. I wasn't the one responsible to raise funds, right? So that's one part of it. Whether it's finding the engineering talent or whether it's finding the investment money, I think it's a combination. I don't know which one is bigger or smaller, but the fact that I'm Asian American, I'm minority, I'm a woman, and then I have this this intention of doing something in ag. When you add all that together, it becomes a very difficult problem. It's getting there, but it's not at a point where you'd see many more women entrepreneurs really trying to solve challenges in agriculture until we fix some of these things.
Go and you meet with either farmers or health officers, doctors and scientists. Usually there's no other women around. So one time I showed up at I was taken to meet with the officers of the township that were supposed to do the study. And so I walked into the meeting room, and there may be about a dozen or so of all different officers and doctors. And then I saw that at the end of the room on the top, there's a TV that playing a Playboy movie. And there's the whole time, and everybody was just watching the movie. And they would expect me to translate it for them, because the movie is in English. And it's a pornographic. So finally I say, unless we turn off the TV, then I would leave.
I've been in computer science and technology for almost my entire education, and so being in a male-dominated environment is something that I guess you kind of grow used to, and
obviously, you notice, you get noticed, and there are events that happen being a female in a male-dominated field and industry.
I was experiencing it up in the Bay Area, so they're not, even though companies try to make it better, it's not very welcoming. Even programming isn't a very welcoming for women. I guess it's more like negative. But I just always felt like people were questioning whether I could do something, I guess. But here it's like everyone's really welcoming. I feel more accepted, and it's been a lot more fun working in the area.
You always find a way to work with folks who are supportive and who really believe in the same problems and in solving the same problems that you do. And so that's really always been our focus is, work first, technology first, and everything else, kind of, you find a way to blaze a trail through the rest.
Yeah, I think it's more and more that women to be in the field, in the Agtech field and successful, and the more we gain our credibility and perhaps some respect. I see now there's a lot of women in engineering, in science, and so that trend will change now.
We're minorities in many different ways. We're young, we're women, we're also ethnically minorities, and so I think maybe you just get used to being a minority and you stop thinking about it after a while. Everyone's an outsider in their own way, I think, and you can often find yourself in a new environment. And so I think once you're able to not focus on that and focus on the successes and the things you have going for you, and the things that you really, the message that you want to get out there, then the conversation becomes a lot easier, and people are actually often very, very much willing to listen to us.
It's still very unrepresented, but we are a newer company where we still, I guess, hope to change that. And we're starting a movement, even here in this Western Grower building, they hope to bring that movement in as well and shift the focus in that women can also do this job, and there's a lot of opportunity for men and women in this area.
It has to start early on. It has to start young. Like my daughter is 10-year-old, and she's already sold into agriculture. She's extremely fascinated. I took her to certain farms. She has been seeing what I want to do. She asks me, what is it that you're doing? And when I share that with her, she has this spark in her eye that, wow, it's that complex. I didn't know that's how you grew strawberries. That's how early it has to start, that basic education. If we really want to get, the younger generation or the next set of people and kids to understand about agriculture, they should be spending some time on a farm. And then they will have appreciation for it, which is inbuilt in them. And then you have the right talent. Once the spark is there, they will find most innovative ways to solve things. We have always done that. I'm already training my daughter, exposing her to the good and the bad of agriculture. If we start doing that, that would be enough to have enough young women entrepreneurs to start changing these challenges we have in agriculture.
Underrepresented minorities will look at a job description and they will not apply unless they feel like they fit 100% of all the requirements. So we explicitly say in our hiring process, hey, if you think you even meet 50% of these qualifications, you should apply. We're reaching out to you because we think you'd be a good candidate. Our company is currently a majority women. It is majority people of color as well. And those are demographic numbers that not a lot of technology startups inside or outside of ag have, and it's something that we work very actively to recruit.
When you have a diverse group of people, decision making is more robust, and you get better decision making and better outcomes, better creativity, because you have different perspectives. Studies from groups like Catalyst showing that often return on investment is higher for an investor in a company that has a higher level of diversity.
There have always been women in agriculture, but kind of behind the scenes, more in terms of bookkeeping and running the family business. What you see now are more and more women up front, becoming the actual entrepreneurs themselves.
We're certainly seeing more resumes come in from women, and part of this is also knowing how to communicate what you need at the company. The less specific you make it, in terms of like the nitty-gritty details of what exactly you want this person to have, like the skill set, the more you open it up and allow for a little flexibility, you'll be surprised at the types of people who will apply to those job postings that are a little bit, allow for a little bit more flexibility.
We need microbiologists, we need pest specialists, we need crop science, soil science experts. But if you're looking into nutrition, sales, marketing, product development, we need that too. If engineering is something you're looking at, we clearly need automation. It's hard for me to imagine a discipline of study that would not be utilized by the ag industry.
Trace especially, I think our goal would be to bring in and to maintain a diversity of opinions and perspectives and voices and backgrounds, because that is really key to solving an interdisciplinary problem.
If you are a VC and you are not investing in women, I don't know what you're doing. Given that the numbers are that immigrant-run businesses, women-run businesses tend to do better. Like the data is there, so it's actually a business opportunity. It's not like a charity case.
In America, less than 1% of the population actually farms anymore, right? And that less than 1% is actually an average age of 62 to 65. So I'm actually a third-generation farmer here in Yolo County. My family did about 4,000 acres of grain haze and custom harvesting and orchard crops and livestock. So we have a very, I would say honestly, precarious situation where we have an aging population of farmers and not very many people who are doing it.
The estimate is 50% of farmland is going to change hands in the next 10 years. We're not talking about dating apps, we're talking about food. Like we're talking about raising food for our communities, and if we don't build that talent pipeline, we're kind of all screwed.
So what's interesting is that there is such a growth and development in this sector right now that I'm seeing more and more women that are interested in the field. It's important that the field be diversified and that women be at the table for a whole variety of reasons. Women don't get treated well unless there are enough, there's a critical mass.
When I was the program director for AgStart, I saw a lot of up-and-coming ag tech companies that were headed by women, which really made my heart smile, and I never doubted them. As a woman in farming in general, I never doubted that it was possible and that it was coming.
That the perception could be from me, that because I'm no longer in that network, in that I have to be before. I feel like I'm alone out there. And now the more and more I see other people like me and they're successful. And that gives me the confidence, and that also maybe project it out to other people who interact with me.
Demographically speaking, if you look at the next generation is in itself more diverse. Our country is getting more diverse as the next generation grows up and takes on leadership roles.
So I want women to be able to earn a good living as well, and for them to be able to earn, to have their own businesses and to deploy technology means that they're going to be able to earn a good living.